What is success to you? What is your script that you have? And generally, that script isn't yours. It's something that's been fed to you throughout your life. What success looks like. You get married by a certain age, you have a kid at a certain age, you have a career, you do both. Like that's success. But that's somebody else's version of success. When people start to question their own success scripts, like
Mhm.
they start rewriting them. They start looking at them and saying, this no longer serves me.
So, welcome everybody to this week's Consulting Matters podcast episode. I'm your host, Betsy Jordan, and I am still in the middle of my very special series, which I'm calling Where Are They Now? Where I am catching up with the clients that I've worked with that you've seen on the show before, because, we all want to be in business for a while. And I thought it would be fun to catch up and see how they've taken their business and their branding over time. And today's guest is Rachelle Stone. So, we worked together I think in like 2017 on her branding, 2017, 18 time period, somewhere along
Yep.
those lines. And she's been back on the show to talk about her passion around burnout and so much more. So we don't even know exactly where the conversation is going to go. And so we're just going to go with the flow and have an amazing conversation about what it looks like to achieve amazing success and impact over time. That we're
Mhm.
not just like one flash in the pan, we're over time. So without further ado, welcome to the show, Rochelle. So excited to have you here.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be with you again. I can't believe it, but you're right. It was like, I think through 2017 through part of 2018 where we worked together. I hired you to help me, and it's just been an incredible journey ever since. And I'm so glad we've stayed in touch and excited to be here today with you.
So for those who don't know you, let's get grounded in where you were at back in 2017. So I think we met maybe we met at a UCF, I mean the UCF, an ICF event.
It was,
Or I
yeah, it was, and I do remember because it was in Orlando. It was at Nova, and
That's
you were
right.
speaking about the importance of branding. I had just moved to the Tampa Bay area from South Florida. I'd been in South Florida for my entire career, and I was, I was moving into a new field, moved to a new city, and I wound up going to this Central Florida, ICF Central Florida. Workshop that you were running, and I remember sitting in there, and I loved your content and saying, "I have to get this woman's card." And I did. I grabbed your card. Everybody was, like, mobbing you afterwards. I'm like, "Can I just get your card?" And then I followed up with you. "I need to talk to you." And that was sort of the beginning of really recognizing the importance of branding, and I didn't have a clear message back then either. So,
That's
that was
right. 'Cause
it.
well,
Yeah.
like, what's interesting is you had a clear vision, but it was all covered up in a whole
Yeah.
bunch of other things.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I feel like with us, it wasn't, like, creating the vision as much as, like, pulling
Uncovering
away
it.
all these
Yeah.
extra things. Like, you had, like, vertical challenge, I think, as a brand, and you
That's
had a lot of,
right.
like, philosophy, and we just had to peel it back. But
Yeah.
you got into coaching
Mhm.
because you were a meeting and event planner, and you hit a certain point in your life. Because I'd love for you to just kind of go back to this point anyway, because I think that a lot of people are listening could relate to your story about what it's like to achieve success and have it not be all like that it's cracked up to
Yeah.
be, to
That's a good
hit
way
the
of
top
putting
and
it.
wonder like, is this what I want?
Is this all
So can
there
you go back
is?
to that?
That's it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
is this all
Okay,
there is?
cool.
Is this, is the ladder against the right wall or all the other cliches? Got the
Yeah.
top, don't love the view. You hit that point. So can we just go back?
Mhm.
Because I think it's such a powerful story and I love it so much.
Okay.
I don't love that you went through suffering. I just love
But
I love the lessons that
listen,
you learned.
there was a gift and opportunity in there that I didn't see then, and now I can. So, but yeah, let's go back. I worked in the meeting and event industry for 26, almost 27 years in South Florida. I was in Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Naples, that whole southern, it's very high end for meetings, and I was in the what's called destination management. And I worked for other companies as a DMC doing that work. This is like inbound meeting planning. So if anybody's bringing a meeting to a certain city, they might need to work with a local expert for airport transfers, area tours, special events, theme parties, entertainment, awards. That was the sort of things I did. So that was the industry. Um, I had worked for other DMCs. I worked for social event companies, helping them open up their DMC divisions. So it always in that small business building, creating space and new opportunities. Then I had my own company for 14 years. And then I worked for private equity, flipping an underperforming DMC from under a million to over 5 million in under 18 months. Try to
Wow.
repeat that. It's impossible. And they wanted me to. And I think that's really what led to me leaving the industry. After about I kept saying to to the investors, I'm like, I can't repeat that. You're going to burn me out. This is not sustainable. And whatever support they tried to give me wasn't the right support. And ultimately, I was driving up 95 one day, which, if you know South Florida, it's 6 lanes of traffic each way. Gosh, I haven't told this story in a long time. 6 lanes of very fast traffic each way, and I'm driving up from a meeting at the Lowe's Miami Beach. I'm going to another meeting at the Breakers in Palm Beach. And the meeting in South Beach was an ick meeting, difficult client, vendors dropping the ball. It just was not a good meeting. And I was driving to another difficult meeting. And I remember being in my car, getting a call from my son, who was graduating from high school that year, saying, "Hey, mom, this is going on." I'm like, "I'm going to be out of town." I'm thinking to myself, again. And I get off the phone with him and I'm thinking to myself, I don't know. And in my mind, this didn't really happen, but in my mind, everything slowed down and I literally stopped my car in the middle of 95 with traffic going 90 miles an hour around me. And it was all in slow motion. And I literally opened up the door and I walked away. This was very metaphorical. But that was what I saw in my mind. And I realized, oh, literally, I said, think I'm ready for going back to being an entrepreneur. I'm tired of answering to these angel investors and these private equity that really don't know crap about what I do. And the demands were just unreasonable. I'm like, I want to go back to working for myself. I don't want to be answering to anybody anymore. So I went to that meeting up at the Breakers, which went exactly as I expected. I went home and with the intent of writing a letter of resignation. Like I was just going to leave. I didn't know what I was going to do. But instead, what I wrote was retirement. I was 48 years old and I said, I'm leaving the industry. It's been a great ride. Thanks for everything. I'll be gone by Thanksgiving. So that was October. That was early October. And then I stayed until Thanksgiving. I remember it was a Wednesday. Walked away. I just left. I had no plans, didn't know what I was going to do. I was getting calls from event production companies around the country wanting me to open up because everybody knew me. I was a top performer in the industry down there. But I just like, nope, I'm not doing it anymore. I'm done. I didn't know what I just thought I was walking away. As I started exploring, did some traveling, was in no hurry because I had done well enough. I could take a little time. I started to look at, well, what do I want to do? What do I like to do? And I needed to put it on paper. So I did what I now call my 4 quadrant exercise that I take all my clients through when they're at risk of burnout or in burnout. What do you love to do that you're really good at in one quadrant? What do you love to do, but you kind of suck at it?
Mhm.
What do you suck at, but you really like to do? And then what do you suck at, you don't like to do it anyway? And as I did this exercise, I started to see patterns in that love, good at quadrant. And I got on Google. We didn't have Google then the way we do now or the internet. And it was just, I kept throwing words in and coaching came up. I didn't know anything about it. What the heck is a coach? And so I started exploring coaching and I decided, oh, that does sound like, because I really like teaching, guiding, mentoring, coaching, growing, all of that. So I took can I swear in your podcast?
I
Am
think
I allowed
so.
to swear?
I don't know.
I
I
don't know.
If
Well,
it falls out, it
I
falls
like
out.
to
This is not a kid show.
it's not a kid show. I like to use the
Yeah.
term shits and giggles. So for shits and giggles, I signed up for a course in coaching, just a foundation course. I wanted to learn more. So I'm taking this course. I'm about 3 weeks into it. And at this point, the teacher emails you the documents, you're not on Zoom. We didn't have Zoom. We are on the phone and then looking at our own individual computers. Something about what she said, I had an epiphany that I recognized, like, I didn't make any decisions about leaving my career. I flippin' burnt out. I didn't even know it, and I'm literally crying in class. Like, no
Uh,
one can see me because 'cause I'm on the phone. I'm like, "Oh my god, I burned out." I didn't say anything to anybody for 2 years. I was embarrassed, humiliated, ashamed. I was a failure. I was a leader in my industry. How dare I burn out? They're gonna, like, laugh at me. I couldn't own up to it. And when you met me, I was still in my denial stages. You were
mhm.
part of what drew it off. You, like, peeled away the layers of the onion to say I remember you saying, "It's burnout." I'll never forget that. But that was sort of my entry into recognizing what had happened to me. I spent the next couple of years as I continued my coach education, I was coaching professionally then, researching what had happened to me, understanding burnout, how it happens, what the recovery, the prevention, everything, anything I could get my hands on, I researched and incorporated it and started incorporating it into my coaching. And then with working with you, I actually started wearing it like a neon sign around my neck and owning up to it and speaking about it at conferences and, chapter meetings, things of that nature, anyone who would listen to me. So that's sort of how it happened. And since then, it's been 11 years. I think I'm in my 11th year as a professional coach. Um, Lots of accreditation and certification and continuing education, and I love every minute of it. I like to tell people I've built a career around the life I want to live. And that's really
Uh-huh.
been a game changer for me in flipping the script from what's expected of you or what you should do instead to what do I want and need, and building a career around that. So that's my
I
story.
remember that moment where we stumbled on I could visualize myself and where
Me
which
too.
office I was in and which version, and I was like, "Oh my gosh." And I remember shortly after that, talking about, like, for shits and giggles. So I was all 'cause I had a lot of burnout, many different iterations of burnout. So I resonated with that. And so I had this one I was, like, in the middle of, like, launching something on, like, how to quantify your value of your consulting. So I had all of this stuff in the works. And then, I went out for it was like a Sunday, I think it was like Father's Day, I had a couple of beers, and I came back and I'm like, because I kept thinking about this burnout thing. I'm like, "I'm just gonna write a little post on, high achieving women and burnout." And I did a LinkedIn post. Out of all the years, like, I'm not a major social media guru. I have one post that went viral, only one, and it was on why high achieving women burn out. And it
Yeah.
was like, wow, because like, I was really inspired where it's like, wow, I saw this mirror, like, that's one of the things I love about what I do as a brand messaging person. It's kind of like, 6 Feet Under, where the person who dies always kinda mirrors a story in the family. In my world, it's like when I'm working with a client, they usually have something that's mirroring something in my life. And you gave me words, and then I did some research on it, and it's like it's inevitable for high achieving
Yep.
women. Extra responsibility requires extra testosterone, and we have a fraction of it. We have the dual stuff where it's like we got the kids and the home, and we've got
Yeah.
like 1,000 other things. There's all the extra expectations,
Mm.
and it was fascinating where it's like we're onto something. Like, yeah, I'm sure men burn out, but not at the same clip as women. And women still want to achieve success in every area of our life. Like,
Yeah.
we want to be excellent mothers. We want to do this. So that was like really inspiring
Well,
to me. And I feel like you really helped me embrace like burnout because I went through several iterations of
mhm.
burnout. Like I had burnout when I left Disney to start my own business. I didn't recognize it at the time. And then I recreated my career in my business. And then I hit like burnout a
Another
second time, which
burnout.
is part of
Yeah.
like my
Mhm.
pivot point, and it's like I kept hitting burnout and you really crystallized it for me but it's like, wow, this is something significant, and we really need to pay attention, and the phrase that we kept coming up with is success without the burnout. Like, you can still
Mhm.
achieve the success without burnout, or nobody should burn out of a career that they love, like some of those phraseology,
Yep.
and that really inspired
Yeah,
me
I
as,
still own
like
that.
something to
I
stay
that is
to pay
still my
attention to.
tagline. Yep. No one should burn out of a life they love. It actually says career, and I strike it out and I use the word life they love because we're whole and complete people. We are not two separate people when we go to work. And if we're
Uh-huh.
masking or armoring up the whole time at work, that's exhausting. And you have nothing left to give when you get home. And isn't the whole reason we go to work so we have something to give at home to our loved ones and families and social circles and community?
Because if you actually do work that you love and you use your strengths every day,
Mhm.
it creates energy for home.
Yeah, it gives you more energy, but too often
It
we're
gives you
doing the
more
wrong
energy.
thing. Yeah. Yeah.
And when you're doing work with people that you love, like, I'll never forget where we did that live event where I brought my community together, and I
Yes, that
remember,
was
like, you
wonderful.
and Dave showed up at the door, and it's like, I have a picture of myself on my 4-year-old birthday party where I'm like this so excited little kid, like, "Yay, all my friends are here," you know? And
Yes.
when you and Dave walked in, it was like my 4-year-old self, like, "Oh my god, all my friends are here. I'm so excited. I can't wait to see you guys. Oh my god,
It
we're
really
immersive.
was the
We're on
best it
Zoom."
was just the best weekends, high intensity, lot of work, slumber party, fun, bonding, and, again, it's like it's the experiences you remember and you learn the most from. You do. Yeah, I have to go back to something you say, like
My daughter still remembers, like, babysitting your dogs because it really was a slumber party
yes!
because you stayed at my house, and
Yeah, we're down to 1 then.
you had 1 dog or 2
I
dogs?
I had
I
2
think
then, now I have 1, yeah. Yes.
and you brought the
Oh,
dogs over, so the dogs were part of the whole thing. The dog
yep,
would snore while we were doing our work.
yeah. You said something before about success without burnout, and I think that we're still struggling, and I think it's becoming more obvious and it's being said out loud more often that women have not been set up to succeed the same way men have. We're expected to work 3 times as hard to get half of the success and recognition, yet still do other things. And it's that definition of success that I've recognized in my coaching. In fact, in 2024, was it? Might have been 2025. I got master certified in navigating transitional intelligence. So, and it's a very small group of us that are master certified in this, but one of the things that always comes up goes right back to success. What is success to you? What is your script that you have? And generally, that script isn't yours. It's something that's been fed to you throughout your life. What success looks like. You get married by a certain age, you have a kid at a certain age, you have a career, you do both. Like that's success. But that's somebody else's version of success. When people start to question their own success scripts, like
Mhm.
they start rewriting them. They start looking at them and saying, this no longer serves me. Or I need to reframe this, or I still like this, I still believe this. They get to choose. But generally, people will rewrite their scripts when they're given the opportunity of what success really looks like for themselves. Not
Well, I
always a
wonder
paycheck.
too, like, when you're talking about life transitions too, like, there's different phases of life, if you will. Like, you're in your 20s and you're trying to find yourself. The 30s is I'm sort of in the groove. 40s, like, I'm, trying to figure out, like, what difference have I made? What difference will I make? And then you kinda move to this other part where
Mhm.
you're I think there's a transition of, like, external definitions of success
Yeah.
get internalized. Like, you stop paying attention to those external markers, and it's like, "Okay, well, now what does this mean to me?" And I think that that's partially, like, speaking of transitions, like, a phase of life
Yeah.
that we enter into where it's like, "No, these definitions of what success means to me." Like, success means to me is that I have, like a good walk and sunshine every day. Like,
Mhm.
when I do that and it's like, I'm kicking off work at this particular time because I want to, because this is meaningful for
Yeah.
me. This life-giving for me. I'm having conversations with you because I wanted it. I don't know if this is like SEO, like I'm not doing all the podcast best practices. I want to have this conversation because I
Yeah.
think it's interesting and I think other people find it interesting to see how does a business evolve over time or how do we
Yeah.
grow as a consultant, coach, and business owner over
Yep.
time.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it evolves. That idea of what success is evolves as you start to internalize it. It's the
Mhm.
external version of what success is that is often somebody else's version.
Yes.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that probably is action item number 1 for all the listeners, is like, what is your definition of success? And it's like, how do
Mhm.
you put um, your what are
Your horse
the
blinds.
frames on your face?
Yeah, yeah.
The horse
Horse
blinds
blinds.
on, and the things to drown out the external
Mhm.
messages. Like, how do you dial in and figure out, like, what does success really mean? Like, how do you help your clients, you know, um, stop listening to
Yeah.
those external noises and voices and really dial in? Like, what do you do as a coach to help them?
Well, first off, you have to recognize that they are, right? Because we internalize these things immediately. And it starts in childhood. I generally, what I'll do with a client to help them recognize and dial into what those scripts are is think back to what are the messages you heard growing up? What were,
Mm.
because your parents told you, finish your plate. There's children starving, right? And that was, we have to finish our food. No, you don't. You eat until you're not hungry anymore. Right? That is a script. What is success? You go to college, you meet somebody, you get married, you have a family. Well, that's their idea of success. And then think about when you're in school, you're getting other messages of what success is, you're getting other scripts. When you're going into college, when you're in your first job, they're all giving you what their definition of success is, and they want you it's like should. That I can't say
Mhm.
I wrote a whole article on don't should on me, because should is just somebody
Uh-huh.
trying to tell you what to do. And these external scripts are the same way, but we don't recognize them because we've been from the day we're born, it's already predetermined what scripts we're gonna receive. So once you recognize, and what I work with my clients, first identifying them, write them on scraps of paper, each script. And if you can work with a coach, I highly recommend it, because going through those scripts and challenging them, how does this show up on your life? How has it impacted you? Do you still believe that? Did you ever believe it? Do you want to maybe reframe it? And how might you reframe it that it fits better into your definition of what success is? The other piece is the values piece, what really matters to them. I think whenever I'm working with clients, we start with the success scripts and always have to like scratch, rewind, and go back to the values, because the values are so foundational and those are fully internalized. And when you can articulate your values and identify them, and that's why working when you're in coaching conversation around values, it takes two or three sessions to really nail them. But once you nail them, they're fully internalized because you don't make decisions without these values. And when you're
Right.
clear, when you can fully articulate those values, making difficult decisions are super easy. There's no question what the right thing for you to do is in that moment, because your values
So
drive
it's
you.
So it's really not putting your horse blinders on at first, it's really becoming more aware. So it's like being the fish in the water, like, you need to become more aware of the water in order for you to decide, "No, this is not alignment with this belief, script doesn't align with my
Mhm.
values, and I can let that one go."
Mm.
Is that
I
correct?
like the analogy of the frog family in the well. They think that's the entire world. That is the entire world for them. As soon as they realize there's a world outside of frogs, outside the well, it changes their whole perception and belief system, their scripts on what their world is. So, yeah, same thing. It is that awareness, that stripping away, that peeling away of the layers of the onion to get back down to what really matters, the internal messages that are so muffled by external noise. So, I mean, as humans, we're not meant to be constantly busy and bombarded with information and noise like we are now with the smartphone, the constant podcast, the constant news, the constant, you know, reality TV. We're meant to oscillate between busy and quiet. That it's in the quiet that we recharge, we refresh, we create, we can tap into. And a lot of people really struggle with that, to get into that quiet space and be okay with it.
It's interesting. This is becoming like a theme on my podcast, which is the whole idea of reflection. And I did an
Mm.
interview. with Melissa Bowie a few weeks ago, and she talked about the idea of like where how people experience. There's research that would show people's experience of going within and reflecting
Mm.
on a neurological level. They experience it like an electric shock. Like it's the
Mhm.
same thing. So for some people, it's so uncomfortable, but that is where the gold is. Like
Yeah.
you can't really align anything to what's inside of you unless you unpack what's inside of you.
Or
And that could be some of the most uncomfortable work
yeah.
that is there if you didn't go within, and really start addressing the burnout that was a theme of your story. You would have never been able to recover from it and then use it as a platform
Yeah.
if you didn't go through that discomfort of like, wait, I have to hold up the mirror and experience this so that I could
Mhm.
bring it forth.
Exactly. 100%. 100%. And
So
it is. It definitely is. It is the launch pad for all the work I do, be it, coaching executive leaders or doing group coaching for emerging leaders. It doesn't matter that learning to tap into that internal reflection because we're discouraged from doing that. How many people do you hear say, "Oh, I don't like to be bored," or "I'm not comfortable being bored"? Well, when's the last time you were really bored and did absolutely nothing? That's where some of your biggest, most creative, most, you know, thriving, inspiring ideas come from. They come from internally when you can quiet the noise. I always encourage people to do what is called an awe, to look for awe in places, and there's actually 8 different pathways to awe, and one of them is, nature is a big pathway to awe.
uh-huh.
People who don't get outside,
Uh-huh.
go outside and take your shoes off. Just take your shoes off and stand in the grass. You talk about an electric shock, you will feel it in your body. You'll get chills all the way through your body just for a half a second, but that is the energy of the earth, and it matters. I tell people to go to a museum, sit in front of a really, really large picture for 30 minutes. Just stare at it. And then when you get too bored with that, turn around and just stare at the people. Just people watch. Sit there with a
Yeah.
notebook.
Well,
Take notes.
and you have to get rid of like your headphones and you can't be like
Yeah,
distracted. You have
right,
to like really
exactly.
be
Bring
present.
pad and paper, get rid of the electronics, and just dial into the world around you. That's why I love walking every day. Like for me, that early morning walk where I can hear nature, the birds, seeing everybody out with their dogs, the chipmunks, whatever, is just heaven. It just
Do we
allows
have
me to
chipmunks
start
in
my day
Florida?
from a centered place.
I don't remember seeing any chipmunks in Florida. Do we have chipmunks in Florida?
Oh, yeah, well, squirrels, maybe they're not chipmunks here, they're
Oh,
squirrels down
squirrels.
here.
Yeah.
Squirrels.
So,
Squirrels, chipmunks.
like I feel like the most radical and healing thing I've ever done is when I started my sabbatical, not last year, but the year before, or like end of 2024. I did this like week-long retreat and I called it my device-free, vice-free, and advice-free retreat.
Oh, I
And
love
so
that.
literally what I did is I took my computer, I took my TV remote, I took my phone, I literally took it all, put it in a bag in my basement, and I turned everything off for a week. I told my daughter, like, how this is how you can get a hold of me. Like, so
I
I gave,
love
like,
it.
a couple emergency things, and that's what I did. Like, every morning, I would wake up, light a candle, and it's like I had all these books on my counter. I'm like, "I wonder what I'm gonna read today." Then I'd go for walks in the neighborhood and see what's what. It was, like, the biggest
Yeah.
healing growth catalyst I've ever done, and it cost me nothing in terms of,
Mhm.
money because I was at home. And then I explored my neighborhood. That's when I really got into my walking habit, which was like the best thing because there's only so much you
Mm.
could do. I'd read in the evenings, but I had to like write down on a piece of paper like what day of the week it was, because I didn't know, all
I
the
love
days sort
that.
of like blended into one another. But it was so good because it was in the silence,
Will you do that
and it
again?
was like
Like, if that was that healing and good, would you do that again? Like, every couple of
if
years
I
or
if I got to the level of like, I mean, that was after 2 cross country moves in 2 years and a whole bunch of like
you were burning
shitstorm
out
of
again? But do
different.
we have to be in
Yeah,
burnout to take care of ourselves? Do we
I
need
like,
to be there in
is
order to
that
feed
I
our
won't
souls?
my hope is I won't need something that radical. Like, if I can keep the habits going on
Yep.
like, that's where, like, my walking daily habit, it was like it became, like, a non-negotiable,
Right.
is, like,
Yes.
like, I'm hoping that I don't have to, and taking, like, a day a week, like, I call it my reset day, like, I have 1 day a week
Um,
where I literally do nothing. I have no responsibilities. I do nothing, and I call it my reset day. So I'm hoping that I hope
Good.
I don't
All
ever
right.
get
So
to that, like,
you're
late stage
incorporating
of
it into your life so you hopefully never burn out again. But most people don't make that space for themselves. And, like you were once in a cycle of burning out, but which you've seemed to have gotten out of, you found ways to manage it. If we're not processing our stress on a daily basis, it's going to build back up. It's not sustainable. As humans, we need to disconnect, recharge. We cannot burn the candle at both ends. Like
And I think that
some
there's
want us to.
some psychology to walking too in sunshine.
Yes.
Like, I thought a lot about it when I was walking. I'm like, "Oh, like, all the spiritual all like, there's a hero's journey. It's not like the hero's sitting." The hero's journey is like the hero's always
Yeah.
walking
He's
somewhere.
always moving.
They're
Yeah.
always on a journey, like, Jesus, when he was, like, with his followers, like, he was walking everywhere,
Well,
like, he wasn't, like, just,
yeah.
like, sitting around and, like, "Let's bring people," and, like, "Let's just sit and
Right.
pray," it was like, "Let's move." And I
Yeah.
think that there is something in the physicality, and I had
Mhm.
a, Kathleen Oshab, who's a coach, I don't know if you know her. She does a whole thing on, like, so she recovered from a traumatic brain injury
Mm.
by, doing the walking, and so she does this, like, forest bathing, and she does a lot of stuff like that because, like, the
Nice.
walking,
Mhm.
there's research around it and the sunshine and what you get, and then the
Mhm.
nature, like, nature moves your energy around. And I think that if you are gonna sustain success, like truly going back to the earlier point of like success without burnout, it means that you need to have routines that you didn't have in your life
Mhm.
beforehand
Yeah.
that led to the burnout that will be almost like the burnout resilience.
Yep.
It's not just like you could
It's
have
the
work that aligns with your
prevention.
values. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, and I always say to people, do you want to prevent burnout or do you want to recover from burnout? Because recovery, you really don't have a lot of choice. I would rather have the choice of preventing it. So, and I think when we present it to people like that to help them understand, ooh, I don't want to have, when you take away people's choice, they don't like that. So when you give them the choice of either preventing or recovering, prevention is way more appealing than the recovery.
But it's radical because it's counter to our society, and I've done so many burnout things where it was like I felt like I was given more to-dos, like, "Go do yoga, go take these supplements, go do this, like,
Um,
neurofeedback thing, or go do this, or go do that." To do, to do, to do. What I wound up doing was, like, doing nothing. Like, I
Nothing.
literally went the other way.
Yeah,
Like, doing nothing is the prescription, like, doing
correct.
nothing.
Yeah.
Like, that's
I
the RX to get out.
It is the RX. Well, and the funny thing is that, I often have clients who are struggling with burnout that will come to me when they're just starting a medical leave from work. And they like, I got to get this resolved in 6 weeks. I'm like, It's not going to be resolved in 6 weeks, but we can make a dent. We can get started." And one of the things that always comes up is I'm way busier and this is going way faster than I ever imagined. Like, I'm not ready yet. Because the need for nothingness is so great. If you've been if you're just starting to burn out, yeah, maybe you could recover with a couple of good weekends and putting some guardrails up. I love to call them guardrails. Those boundaries are guardrails.
Uh-huh.
We can talk about that in a minute. But if you're not, that time where you were busy with work and had no time for yourself or your family or the things that you are otherwise passionate about outside of work, suddenly you're super busy and your schedule is really full again with other things because people struggle to do the nothingness, to do
Yes.
the boredom, to sit with themselves. Um, yeah, it's crazy. But I wanna go back to what you said about the need to, the prevention, which is in the routine and the consistency of building the habits that support our wellness. I always have said we're a three-legged stool. If we're not taking care of all, like, our physical, mental, and spiritual, we're gonna tip over. 3 legs means all of them
Uh-huh.
have to be paid attention to. And I like to call them guardrails. And I can tell, like, how do you know that you're at risk? What are some of your tells that tell you, "Oh, I think I'm putting myself at risk of burnout again if I don't make some changes?" I like to say, "I've dropped my guardrails." And I look at it in the visual for me, because I love visuals and metaphors, It's the remember the bowling alley with the bumpers where you put the bumpers up?
Yeah.
I would say I have to put my bumpers back up. And it takes every time I get to this, it's generally my sleep is getting interrupted. I'm waking up, I'm ruminating. I'm feeling a little bit more anxious and I'm not sure what's driving it. Generally, it's because I've dropped my guardrails. I'm like, "Oh, baby bumpers back up." It will take me 3 to 5 weeks to get back to that place of equilibrium and balance again, and that's burnout prevention. The recovery happens when you've been going for 6 months, a year, and you are just so completely exhausted. You're now having physical ailments, you're not sleeping well, you're not eating well, you're gaining weight, your blood pressure's going up, whatever, because we all have different impacts, rash, who knows? That takes a little bit longer to
Actually,
recover
some of the
from.
research I did when I was doing my sabbatical is when your levels get so shot, like your cortisol levels, like when
Yeah.
it gets so shot, it takes like 3 to 4 months to even replenish them.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
so, like, I started a 3-month sabbatical, turned into a 7-month sabbatical because I really was on fumes for way too long. Like, I was at like danger phase,
Yes.
so it's like, I think that that's your choice point is if
Mhm.
you don't take care of it, like muscling through burnout or just like, nutting up and doing what you need to do, that's only going to delay the
Extend
inevitable and
right?
make
It's
it a
gonna
thousand
delay
times
and
worse.
extend the recovery needed and the type of recovery.
But then
Yeah.
But then again, like, I feel like if I didn't hit to that imploding level, like you talk about imploding, at a
Mhm.
certain point, like, those are those sacred moments where it's like, okay, the way I'm really living my life, like, I had to look at a lot of patterns. Like, when I was on my
Mm.
sabbatical and in that silent retreat, I didn't just, like, sit around and just, zen my way through it. It's like I had to look at some like, there was work, but it wasn't like work, it was like emotional work where I had to look
Mhm.
at patterns of like, "How in the world did I even get here?"
Yeah.
And the over-functioning in relationships, the over-functioning, even in with my clients, like, I'll go above and beyond all the time, like, I never know 100% when I've done enough, and even when it comes to, like, how I set up my engagements, how I look at my pricing, like, men don't have, like, the same kind of problem of, like, "I just have to give this much value," like, I would, like, create offers, I'm like, "And I could do this, and I'll offer this, and I'll offer this, I won't increase the price," so now I'm overgiving here, so I'm overgiving in
Well.
this relationship, I'm overgiving with my kids, I'm overgiving in this part,
Mhm.
and now it's like, okay, that is not a
That's not
sustainable
sustainable.
thing.
Mhm.
It's not sustainable, and it's like you have to have good guardrails, like, so in some ways, like, when you talk about success on your own terms and success without the burnout, I think there's this point number 1 that you made, which is super important, is, like, paying attention to the messages and how they're in alignment with your values,
Mhm.
really taking an important look at, what do you love and what are you good at, and making sure you organize your career around your life and who you are, like, there's that second part.
Right.
There's this other burnout part that you're talking about, like, the burnout prevention and making sure your three-legged stool is in place, but I
Mhm.
think that there's like a fourth part
Mhm.
too, which relates to like boundaries in terms of like whatever your patterns might be that would lead you into that place, and I think for women, it has to do with equitable pricing, like owning our worth,
Yeah.
not, so that we're making the money without working extra hard for it.
Right.
Like we're still earning without, I don't know if that equation makes sense, but I think that there's other things that might need to put into place
Mhm.
to go back to what we talked about why high achieving women burn out in the first place, and I don't think I'm alone as a high achieving
Sure.
woman where I overgive.
Well, there's something I don't know if you've ever read the book Burnout by Amelia and Emily Nagassi. They're twin sisters that wrote a book. It's called Burnout: The Secret to Unlocking the Stress Cycle. It's a great book. They talk about human giver syndrome. And as women, we are raised to be givers. And we we constantly are moving the finish line. Even though we know moving the finish line will stretch us, as a human giver, we're used to stretching ourselves. We are taught our idea of success is to be able to stretch and give to others without taking much account to ourselves, putting everything ahead of us. So again, that's a script that needs to be revisited. For some, they want to hang on to that script and be a giver. That is their calling. But it is not everybody's calling, and it's important to recognize if it's not yours and what is. When you talk about the stages of burnout and letting it go too far, I just have to say this. Burnout burnout, you didn't burn out overnight. It generally starts with the stress that you're not managing. And that unmanaged stress is going to lead to the feeling of languishing in that you're not thriving, but you're doing more than surviving. So you're in this sort of area of masking and women are really great at masking. I got this, right? No worries, I got it. And then meanwhile, that languishing can lead to burnout. When the burnout isn't managed, it can lead to depression. And
Mhm.
depression is a medical condition. Then you really need help. That's really
Yeah.
when, you can't a coach isn't going to be help you, your boss, your friends, your peers are not going to be able to help you out of depression. You must seek medical support. But you can avoid it by keeping the guardrails up, setting good boundaries, communicating your expectations, and really being clear on what matters to you and sticking to it.
And not violating that. Like, if you are if there's things that you think like, "Well, everybody's doing this," but it's like, well, just because
That
everybody's
should.
doing it doesn't mean that you have to do it. Like,
Right.
yeah. Like, like I've always been I know everybody listening is gonna say there's no way that Betsy's an introvert. Like I'm a total introvert. Like I need gobs and gobs of time alone in
Mhm.
order to recover. And
Yeah.
it was just I was raised in a very extroverted family. You did not survive in my family if you weren't an extrovert. But if
Mm.
I go to like a networking event, like this weekend, I had like 3 days of like out times, like my extroverted time.
Mm.
I'm like, I was cash yesterday. Like
Yeah.
I could barely function. I'm
Yeah.
still tired. Like it's like it
Right.
still takes a lot for me to recover, and so building a marketing system for me that would require me to do a lot of networking and a lot of external stuff is not gonna work for me. That's
No.
gonna burn me out
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's out of alignment. I like creating content. I like having one-on-one conversations. Like, this works for me.
Right.
But for somebody else, like, this may not work for you. You're much
Mhm.
more extroverted than I am. So you might, you love like speaking and, there's a
Yeah, but
lot of things
so
that you
here's the
do.
thing though, Betsy, and this is a really valid point. I'm glad you brought up the introvert extrovert because most people think introvert extrovert is just how you show up. It's how you get your energy, how you
Yeah.
recharge your batteries. And to be honest, I love my own company. I could go days without seeing another human being or talking to him. I just need my dog. I'm a happy camper. Dog in nature. I'm good. Give me a book. I'm totally good with that. So yes,
I would high
I
five
I
you if we
like
were in person. Me
yeah, high
too.
five. But it's still I do like you, I can turn on the extrovert. I can be the outgoing person, but it's as exhausting. By the end of
Yeah.
the day, I'm always happy and proud, and then I wonder why I'm so tired. That's why, because we get our energy we recharge, in different ways, and that's a really important distinction there.
I'm working on some new ways of like presenting like my listen to your life exercise that I do with my clients on the
Mhm.
upfront, where it's like we inventory everything.
Yeah.
And one of the phrases I keep coming back with is like, you need to take yourself seriously. If you're going to have success on your own terms, it means that at some point you're going to take things seriously. Like at some
Mhm.
point, you're going to take what you want seriously. You're going to take your strengths seriously. You're gonna take your passions seriously, but I would add in from this conversation is also like your temperament, your wiring, what gives you energy. Like at some point, if you
Knowing
really want to have
yourself.
success on your own
Mhm.
terms, it's not just knowing yourself, it's taking it seriously and treating it like it's like I can know it. Like, how many times do we do personality tests? I find it fascinating when I take people through my strengths exercise. Like how much like they kind of like take it in like Teflon. Like it's like it's like people like barely take it in. Like no, you have to swallow it up, take it whole, really
Yeah.
internalize it. Like
Yeah.
these are your strengths. Like you have to use them. These are not your strengths. You're never going to find happiness no
Right.
matter how
Find somebody else that's
monetizable
good
you
at
think
that.
this is. Yeah, like,
Yeah.
there's never gonna be you. Like, take
No.
yourself seriously. And if you really wanna have success without burnout, that's the only way that you're going to avoid it is you have to operate according to your nature. So you have to understand your nature, but you have to take that nature seriously. You
Mhm.
can't minimize it, or you can't just, like, have it in your head. You have to, at
That's a
some point.
great framework. I love that, Betsy, because when you think about it, our entire life is based on nurture, but it really is nature that drives us. And I like the concept of taking yourself seriously and doing that internal work and knowing yourself. What feeds
Mhm.
you, what depletes you. That's so important.
Without without apology,
Yeah, without
and without
apology.
like, "I'm so
Yeah.
sorry." Like, "Oh, I guess I should really do this." Like, it's like the don't shit on me.
It's the
Like,
should.
when I have a lovely weekend where I don't have anything going on, I'm like, "Oh, I should be getting out more." But I'm like, "But I'm really happy right now." Like,
Oh, I love
why
going the
like,
weekend,
I'm
just throwing my hair up in a pineapple and just staying in my PJs, and
Yep.
we all deserve it.
Or
We should have a hard
just
a
like
hard week.
like I Fridays, I have my days blocked, and I usually do my longer walks on Fridays.
Okay.
Now it's getting hotter, so I have to do
Hot.
them earlier. But the idea of like I get to do it's not even like I'm my own boss. I get to
Yeah.
choose.
Yeah.
What am I waiting for permission for? Like, who's going to give me this permission? I get to do what I
Yeah.
want.
You give yourself permission. Yeah. Yeah.
So what I love in this conversation is talking about taking things seriously. I think when we ended our work where you said you gave birth to your brand and
Yeah.
you were like a little baby bird like kicking out of the nest. It was like, okay, you're on this mission with success without burnout. It was like kind of up here. What I'm really experiencing is the mission that you had when we ended our work is the same. It's just deepened. Your expertise
Mhm.
has deepened. Like you've become like a tree really rooted in this purpose in a different way. Like, that's what I see over through this conversation of, like, what it means to be really living in and leaning into
Yep.
your purpose, your calling, and what you're meant to do, and how to make meaning out of what you went through and your wiring. It was both. Like, you're on
1000%.
purpose with
Yep.
your alignment of who you are, but
Mhm.
also you made meaning out of your life story.
I everything I do is based on that premise, in that does it align with me? Is this on my path, or is it off my path? Like, I just got back. I go every year to the Meeting Professionals International World Educational Conference. I just got back Saturday from it. But it's over 1,000 people. They're all in the meetings industry, and these are my people from my past industry. And I go back to it because I know them so well, and I know they're so burnt out or struggling. And I coach for free for 3 days at the conference. And that is a big part of the messaging and the understanding of what I'm hearing. And people, no one tells them it's okay to look at themselves first and say, I'm really not okay with that, or to speak up or ask for what they need, or want. No one gives them permission to do that. So I love going to this conference and being able to help people get unstuck and start moving, start articulating what they want to ask for, and being okay with it, and knowing that, oh, that should is somebody else's wanting me to do something.
Uh-huh.
I don't really I have choice here. So, it's wonderful. So, yes, I'm very much living it, and imparting it in every conversation I have. But not everybody is coming to me for burnout either. So, I do a lot of the leadership coaching and development too, which is not around burnout, but that well-being always remains a piece of it, because we're whole people. We're not 2 separate people when we go
Right.
to work. And too often, again, it goes to that armoring up or masking, when that's exhausting at work. When we can be our whole self, when we can be our authentic self, it feels so much better. It's so much easier to ask for what you need, to say no.
Like, I don't think it's people may not have, like, the experience of burnout per se, but I think it's thematically the same thing.
Yeah,
Is like, I wanna have success and flow. Like, I wanna have like, if I'm an executive, I wanna have greater success and
yeah,
flow, with who I am. And it's like burnout is like a condition that I'm just operating in violation of, my true nature.
yeah,
So, either way, it's like I think if you're doing an executive coaching kind of thing and somebody says like, I should really hit the top at this in 3 years, I should be
yeah,
CEO because of I should be able to make this kind of money and this kind of lifestyle. I can't imagine that you're not going to clock them and you're like, "Okay, time out.
yeah.
Does
I'm
that
like, "What evidence
align?
do
How
you
does it
have of
relate to
that?"
your values?" Like,
Yeah,
I don't think you're gonna just say, "Cool, let's go for the external definitions
right,
of success." Like,
right.
you're not gonna be that coach. And I know that there's plenty of
No.
executive coaches who would be
Mm.
just fine.
Oh, no, I
Speaking of
like to
coaching,
say I
though,
deliver difficult messages with kid gloves. I'm really good at helping people. to your point, a lot of leaders have these horse blinds on, they're burning the candle at both ends, they're working 70 hours a week, they've got a family they don't even know. Meanwhile, their health is failing. But let's just keep going. And getting them
And
to
so the mission's not
recognize
gonna
that,
change.
well, they generally, if somebody's coming to coaching, even leadership coaching, while they're coming to solve maybe, or improve or grow in their work, the best way for them to grow and improve in the work that they're doing and what they deliver is to start taking care of themselves. It sounds
Yeah.
so counterproductive to make space and time for yourself, but when you do, you have greater capacity to give to others, you have better energy. You also can handle more stress because you're operating
Uh-huh.
at a more solid level instead of already at a stress point. When something stressful happens, then you're really high up on stress. But when you're caring for yourself, when you're putting your oxygen mask on first or doing the things that you should, like the walk, I hear with the word should, that are better for your well being, you have more to give to others. I always like to use the word reserve, so reserve has a lot of double meanings. When you think about a reserve, like if you're in the UK, reserve is what you have in the tank, in the gas tank. How much reserve do you have that's petrol in your tank. In hospitality, we reserve. It's spelt the same way. So when we don't have any reserve in the tank, we have nothing to reserve to others. And I feel like that is a visual that resonates with so many leaders to understand, "Ooh, I've got no petrol in the tank to give to others."
And I think that there's brings up one other aspect that you have to take yourself seriously, and I think that goes to our
Yes.
humanity. Like,
Yes. Yes.
we're designed in a particular way, and our bodies require certain things, and I feel like what frustrates me a little bit, like, around, like, the AI thing is that it feeds into our rush for results. Like, I think I should get to this answer immediately, and it's like, "But who
Right.
said we have to get to this answer immediately?"
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
where's this value that I have to get more done in less period of time? Like, this whole, like, definition of productivity is, I think it's like it's counter to our human nature because there are those rhythms. Like, I
Yeah.
need to balance my reflection with my action,
Mhm.
and reflection is the power skill. And so I think that that's still what you're inviting people into is like, I'm going to really give you your power skill that is in alignment with the way your body's actually
Yeah.
designed, and you as a human is
Mhm.
actually designed to operate so you could be at peak performance. And let's take on these definitions of what productivity actually is.
Performance
Like,
is
maybe
not
productivity.
productivity. And that's you're right. This world is built around productivity and volume where it needs to be built around performance and well-being, that quality of what we're doing and the
Yes.
pride of what we're putting out there. That's part of the well-being formula.
And it's in the letting the conversation flow. Like, I
Yeah.
love the way you and I made a conscious choice for this conversation. We chose that we're going to have one thing is we're just going to catch up and see where your
Yep.
business
See
was
where it
going to
goes.
go. And then we're going to trust that something really cool is going to come out of it.
Mhm.
And I think what we got is a really good masterclass on how to achieve sustainable success without burnout.
Mhm.
Like, I think that we have really unpacked that, but we didn't have that as a goal. I thought
No,
I
we
was going to
didn't.
talk to you about becoming a president of Central Florida ICF. And I
I
thought
know
we were
there's
going to
so
talk
many
about,
things. Yeah.
I thought that was going to be the main part of our conversation, but who knew?
Never came
This is
up.
where the conversation left. And we allowed it. We
Yeah.
allowed the space.
That's the beauty in it when we
So
allow
yay
it.
us. Yay.
Yeah.
I hope you all
Well,
enjoyed the conversation. For those
yeah,
that
this was
listening,
so much
that
fun.
the
Mm.
evolving conversation about success, sustainable success without burnout. That's what this episode is about.
It was. There we go. We have a title for it now, which is perfect. Mm.
So, okay, so now that we have the title for it, as we are wrapping up this episode, is there, like, if you were going to summarize everything that we said into like one thing that people should keep in mind if they want to have sustainable success without burnout, like, what's the one thing that you think people should have or think
Um,
about or consider?
well, there's so many, that's tough to say one. I really think it's an understanding of what really matters to them. That the values are so core and foundational They drive your purpose. They drive your passions. You know, you can be really passionate about something and not understand why. When you can get clarity on your values, it's so much easier. It just it answers everything. Well, maybe not everything, but it's that you can't build a house without a solid foundation. So
Yeah.
get the foundation solid, get clear on, what the foundation is, and that starts with the values. And then I would be looking at the scripts. What is my definition of success? Where did it come from? Who fed that to me? Or do I believe that? Is that what I'm seeing in my world, or does it maybe feel a little off kilter? So, I would say it's going to be the values and the foundation, and then looking at the scripts that you're living your life by. Because a lot of times we're just living on autopilot on somebody else's scripts.
Mm, that's good. Okay, where can people get a hold of you? Where could they follow you if they wanna work with you? How
LinkedIn
can they
is
find?
always the best place to start finding me. I do have a website, which I have not modified in years. I need to go modify it one of these days, but that's rstoneconsulting.com. You can also email me at Rachelle@rstoneconsulting.com. But LinkedIn is generally a great place to reach me as well. So I'm there whenever I get a message, and I try to be a troll and a thought leader, and promote the ICF, International Coaching Federation, Central Florida chapter, which I'm president of right now. Thank you for bringing that up. And yeah, and anybody wants to have a conversation, I always have 30 minutes on my calendar for anybody who wants to just maybe ask a question, or they want me to ask them questions. I'm happy to do that too.
Awesome. So, is there anything else that you wanna share about your experience, moving into business ownership, your process of going through branding, what you've learned about success over
Yeah.
time, and I'm just not asking you the right questions?
Well, I think that working with you was super helpful for me to really get clarity around what my brand looked like, and where my lane was. I think as a coach, we come out of schools and we're like, pick a niche. You got to have a specific lane. And the reality is you don't. My interest is really expanded. I do a ton of executive and leadership coaching. I'm Hogan assessment certified. So doing a lot of that now as well, and I just love, again, the burnout lane is a passion for me because I've been there, and I really enjoy it. But I think yeah, it's just eh, I'm happy in that I've been able to build this new career around a life that I love to live. And when you're thinking about what you want, don't worry about the career yet. Envision what you want your life to look like. How do you want to live it? Where do you want to be? Like, really visualize it and paint that picture, because that's becomes the glimmer that you're shooting for, or that shiny penny that makes sense for you to go after by rethinking what work is around that life you want to live. It's just flip the script on yourself. The scripts you're living on, most of us are living on, most of our lives are not ours. So recognizing that and rewriting them so you can live your best life is really ideal.
I just have one quick reframe on what you said is that I think what happened is the word glimmer is more important than paint the clear picture. It was almost like
Absolutely. Yes.
get a glimmer and then follow the clues of the values and your strengths and,
Mhm.
and then eventually the full picture will come into picture, but you
Yeah.
didn't have the full picture. It was like you
No,
had the
I didn't.
glimmer,
I had
and then I
glimmers.
had all these clues of these are my passions, my strengths. So your passion was
Mhm.
burnout, your strengths were in coaching, and it's like so we just followed the
Mhm.
breadcrumbs
Yeah.
to the glimmer, and then once you got there, then
Mm.
then the whole picture came into play.
But you can't see the glimmers if you have horse blinds on,
Yes, and
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 you're
if you're
always
listening
busy.
to the
So,
external.
yes, getting into nature, shutting off the noise, sitting in a museum, staring at a picture, that's going to give you access. Go to the Grand Canyon, look at the Milky Way, the Northern Lights. That is awe. That is something bigger and greater than yourself, and it helps you tap into what those glimmers are for you. It helps you get out of your amygdala and into your bigger picture, more creative, more expansive way of being. And that's where the growth really
Well,
is.
obviously, I think you and I could talk for a long,
Oh, we
long,
can
long
do
time
this for a
about this,
whole
but we have
'nother
to
yeah.
wrap this
You may
up.
have to stay on
Thank you
after the recording ends.
Thank you so, so, so much for being on the show, Rochelle. This was amazing.
Yeah.
I loved every minute of our conversation. Highly recommend anybody who's a coach in Central Florida to definitely connect with Rochelle and join ICF over here. And if you're an OD consultant, we have,
Yep.
other groups, but I'm just promoting this one
Yeah.
here. Um, and of course, if you want to work with me on your branding, I love doing what I do.
Absolutely. Highly
So
recommend
check out my
Betsy.
website. Thank you. So if you enjoyed the show and you want to continue to hear more of like where are they now, and other episodes like this where we go deep, definitely hit subscribe now, rate and review it so more people find the show. And until next time, thank you all so much for listening.